Hi there, welcome to the Pruskop podcast. My name is Megan Pruskop, and I'm a residential and multifamily realtor here in Edmonton, Alberta. Today, we're going to be going through the market stats for March of 2025. And then afterwards, I'm going to share some stories of what's happened with some of my deals this past month. So you can maybe see what the life of the realtor looks like. If you're a buyer, you're going to learn some mistakes to avoid. And if you're a seller, you can have a taste test of what can happen on your listings with these deals. First things first, let's get the numbers out of the way. If you're only here for that data, then let's do it for you. These stats are released every single month by RAY, which is the Realtors Association of Edmonton. You can check on these every month. They are released the first week of the following month to show the prior month's numbers. So if we start with the sales prices, all residential, so this includes your townhomes, your condos, your semi-detached, your detached, all of these put together, if you're looking to buy a home in Edmonton, you can budget for around $460,000. Month over month, we have gone up 2.5%, and year over year, we've gone up 9.3%. So if you were hoping for the market to collapse, you could swing in there as a buyer and get a good deal. That plan backfired, and you should have short the market. You should be going long. For simply detached homes, so entirely detached, just a normal house, on average, we're looking at prices at $575,000. This is a 1.2% increase from last month in February and 11.2% increase from March of 2024. If we head down to semi-detached, these are going to be your half duplexes. On average, you can expect to spend around $431,000. This is a 2.3% increase month over month or a 5.3% increase year over year. Going to townhomes, row townhouses, on average, you can expect to spend around $315,000. This is a 4.6% increase from last month and an 11.3% increase from last year, just like detached. Apartment condominiums, so normal condos, on average, the price is going around $218,000. This is a 1.4% increase from last month or a 12.2% from last year. It's kind of cool to look at these numbers and see how they are lining up with the year over years. So pretty much the same number for condos, townhouses, and detached. This is probably a culmination of what is desirable to people and also what they can afford. So the entry level houses are getting more expensive at the same rate as the full detached. And once again, this is a balance between what is actually being desired and what can actually be purchased within the average person's budget. It's good to note down here at the bottom that this isn't specifically just for Edmonton. This data is also collecting from the outside towns and cities just outside of Edmonton. This will include Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Beaumont, Leduc, Fort Saskatchewan, Stony Plain, Spruce Grove. So those surrounding areas are included in this data. Of course, when you enter those separate pockets, the prices will be a little bit different, but if we group everybody together, this is what the numbers say. If we head over to the amount of new listings that popped up in March, 3,700 new listings. This is a 44.5% increase since February. We love to see this. We love to see more listings on the market, more options to choose from as a buyer, and overall, just more activity. The sellers are okay with selling now that the weather's warmed up, and the buyers are okay with shopping for the same reason. Nobody likes going out in the cold. Right now, or as of March, there is 4,800 listings available. And this months of inventory, what this means is if no more listings came up on the market, only the ones that are on there stayed there, we would only have enough supply to last 1.9 months or 2 months. After that, all the listings would be eaten up or bought. Next thing that's worth looking at here is the average days on market. This has been looking the same for the past 6-8 months. Honestly, just year over year, days on market have been shrinking around 10 days for all categories. The only exception to this are apartment condominiums. As you know, apartments are going to be the last ones to appreciate and the first ones to depreciate. Now we're going to enter into story time. So if you were just here for the numbers, you can leave now. If you want to listen to some stories of what has happened this month, then stay tuned. I've been very heavy on the listings reel recently. I've still working with some buyers, but I'm very listing heavy right now, and it's been a brutal month, not gonna lie. I've received 5 non-waivers, so 5 deals have collapsed of mine, and that hurts. All of that is stuff out of my control, but shit happens. And it makes a good story for you to listen into. As I said at the beginning, if you're a buyer, this is going to give you some things to potentially avoid so that you have a successful deal. And if you're a selling agent and you've had stuff collapse, then no, you're not alone. I'm right there with you. And yeah, just good things to look out for. I got my handy dandy little list here. I started the month off really well with an off-market double end. What that means, by the way, off market and on market, some people don't know this. When it's on market, that means it's been publicly posted. You can find it on realtor.ca. It's on the MLS. When it's off market, then it can't be publicly found. The public doesn't know about it. So I got this listing, and before we went on market, I was like, hey, I think I know a buyer for this one. And we arranged a showing. He liked the property. He put an unconditional offer in. It's going to be a flip property, and it sold before we even hit the market. And if you're an investor specifically, you want to be working with realtors that have access to these off-market deals because that's where you can get a really good property, and you also have less competition from buyers. This is also a pro sometimes for sellers because it weeds out the tire kickers and the people that just go to look at houses that don't have intention of actually purchasing it. So it can be a good filter for sellers to get rid of the looky-loos. That's how we started the month, which was great. Then it was kind of downhill from there, I gotta be honest with you. So deal number one, this is a non-conforming legally or non-conforming basement suite house, single family detached. That means that the main floor is being rented out and the basement is a second unit that's being rented out, but it's not a legally suited property. With this one, we listed on Thursday. We went pending that weekend on an above ask offer, so above list price. And 2 days into going pending, it turns out that the buyer's dad passed away, so we had to fly back home to Pakistan and obviously didn't have the intention of continuing with this purchase with all of that family emergency going on. So that one collapsed for a complete random reason nobody had control over, and yeah, I wish that guy good luck. That's a lot to handle. Moving on to the next one. I have this other listing up in Lamont, which is northeast of Edmonton, kind of by Redwater, just past Fort Saskatchewan. Very industrial area, farmland. This one we went pending on, all looked great. Buying agent was fantastic to work with, and we were good to go. I checked in with the buying agent the day before conditions were due. It was just financing left, and everything looked good. Then the day of condition removal, the buying agent called me and said, "Oh, I got some bad news for you." I'm like, "No, I don't want to hear that. What happened?" What happened was the buyer got pre-approved, which is great. This house was within their budget, great. But then they bought a car. When you buy a car, especially a brand new car, an expensive one that you have high payments on, that is adding to your monthly debt load. The higher your debt load is, the less your purchase power is going to be. The way the bank sees it is you have $800 a month that you're spending on your car. That's $800 a month that isn't making me, the bank, a priority. So I'm only going to trust you this much now. So their purchase power got dramatically reduced and they weren't able to continue with the purchase of the home. If you're looking to buy a home and a car around the same time, get the house first. The mortgage lenders are a lot more critical of your finances than car dealerships are. Something that could have potentially saved this deal. There could have been 2 solutions, but the buyers were not comfortable with either of those solutions, which is fine. Option number one, they could have gone into private lending to close on the deal and then feed into option number two, which would be reducing their debt service by refinancing the loan on the car. What that looks like is going back to the dealership and saying, hey, I know we agreed to 3 years at $800 a month, but can we extend that to 6 years for $350 a month, as an example? Then that's reducing your monthly debt load, which means that you have more income, more cash flow for the bank to trust you, which will increase your purchase power. So there were a potential solution there, but it just wasn't the right time for them with what happened, which is fine. It happens. The next deal that happened was Fixer Upper House. That was my listing. We went pending pretty quick. That was great. But the buyer went into the agreement with a misunderstanding on how Purchase Plus improvement loans work. Once again, I was representing the seller. So we went pending, the inspection passed, it was fine, and then the buying agent called me and said, well, we got a problem. Oh no, I really like this buying agent too. But the buyer wanted a Purchase Plus improvement loan. Let's say she was budgeting 60K worth of renovations. That means she was assuming the bank would give her 60K straight up. So then she would have free rein to renovate her place and she wouldn't need to up that or front that capital. The bank would do it for her. It doesn't work that way. The bank wants you to put up the risk or put up a portion of the capital up first. It's almost like a draw. So let's say the first thing you wanted to tackle was the kitchen, and that cost you $10,000. You would pay out of pocket to complete that kitchen. And then when you get the receipts from the contractor showing, yes, it cost me $10,000 to complete it, here's the invoice, here's the proof that the work is done, then you would get reimbursed through a draw from the bank to pay you back. And then once again, you would put up the next $10,000 yourself that you just got reimbursed and move on to the next step. Maybe it was windows, something like that. So she didn't fully understand that process. And when it came to it, she just wasn't able to stick to the plan that she had due to financing. The next deal that I had, the buyer didn't have financing completed in time. So, when you're representing a buyer, it's really important to call the mortgage broker or lender prior to putting an offer in. You always want to make the conditions as tight as you can, but you also have to be realistic with the timeline that the lender or mortgage broker needs to ensure that there's a loan waiting for them at the end of condition removal. So, with this, the buyers were new to Canada, immigrants, and of course, with those files, it takes a little bit more work and there's a lot more you have to sift through, and it does take longer. So, we were pending for 2 weeks, and that just wasn't enough time for the mortgage broker to work on their file. And I believe there was some issues with that mortgage broker. So, they also jumped mortgage brokers, went to mortgage broker number two. And then mortgage broker number two, of course, had to start from the beginning because he wasn't handling the file till then. And it was just too late. And we, the sellers, didn't have very much confidence in those buyers. So the deal did collapse. We didn't agree to an extension. That's that. We're now pending back on that one again. So that should be good. The next one was a multifamily deal. This is the last one I'll talk about. It came down to financing. All of these pretty much come down to financing. And this was a multifamily pre-construction deal, and they were wanting to finance through CMHC MLI Select, which is great. MLI Select is a fantastic platform to get lending through, but there's always a leap of faith. Whether you are getting into pre-construction or you're getting into legacy builds, what that means, pre-construction is it's not built yet, but you're buying it, and possession date's probably going to be a year, year and a half from now. There's a leap of faith. Then in legacy builds, which counts as buildings that have been built and rented for at least 1 year. I know legacy builds makes it sound like it's old, but just older than 1 year. There's also a leap of faith almost always with those as well. This leap of faith is, are you or are you not going to get your COI from CMHC? It's a risky move, absolutely. The deal I was working on was a pre-construction one, and we did go over the fact that there's going to be a leap of faith moment. And what that means is we went pending. and we had a financing condition on there, but it wasn't to secure COI, which is your certificate of insurance from CMHC. That was just to complete due diligence, order the appraisal, look at the appraisal results, make sure the appraisal came back at the same price or higher as what you've agreed to pay for it. Run through your finances again, make sure that we don't foresee any red flags with being able to close this loan with the information that we have. So you would be removing your conditions in 2, 3, 4 weeks on these pre-construction deals, not when you have COI in hand. And the reason for this is there is so much demand for these multifamily projects, whether it's legacy builds or pre-construction, that the sellers don't have to give you any leash. And that means that the sellers don't want to trust you for 3 or 4 months to wait for you to get your COI in hand from CMHC. They just want you to remove conditions and know that you're confident and that you have to close on closing day. Not everybody is comfortable with that, which is totally fine. We're talking about, in this case, a $100,000 deposit on a $2 million property. So if something does happen between us removing conditions, essentially buying the property and just waiting for possession date and for that loan to be fulfilled, something happens like CMHC making a change, or if something personally happens with the buyer where now they don't have the financial capacity to close, there's a lot of risk involved in that. Absolutely. This buyer, at the end of it, right before we were going to order the appraisal, decided that after all, this risk wasn't worth it to him. He got burnt, I believe, before on a single family detached pre-construction. His spidey senses were going off and he just wasn't comfortable with it, which is fine. The seller wasn't able to give us that extension for us to get COI in hand. And they didn't want to give us that leash because they just want to find another buyer who has the confidence and can pull the trigger right away. So that's what happened with that one. With legacy buildings, there's that same leap of faith almost always of not having your COI in hand, but you're still closing or removing conditions before having COI in hand. Same leap of faith. And it's for the same reason. These legacy builds, whether it was built in 2023 or 1960, the seller wants the thing sold fast. And now he or she doesn't want to wait 3, 4 months pending and have that deal locked up for 3 or 4 months just for it to potentially fall through 3.5 months in. That's a big waste of their time. So usually what happens with these legacy builds, if you're looking to purchase one of these, is you should be expecting to go in and close on a bridge loan, which is 25%, or maybe a conventional loan if you're looking to slowly renovate it and then in 5 years refine to MLI Select. But you're most likely going to be closing with 25% down. And then you have that leap of faith when you close and remove conditions that you would then later be applying to CMHC MLI Select and getting your COI and your loan then. So there's always a leap of faith with these deals. Not everybody is comfortable with that, and that's totally okay. There are other ways that you can invest in real estate or invest in other directions and make your money make money, but that is a stage of the process. That was my month. I hope that was at least entertaining for you, if not anything else. I know it was very entertaining for me, to say the least. If you found this helpful, then please like and subscribe. It goes a super long way. And if you have any questions, drop a comment down below. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.